Hello and welcome back. It looks like I am a fabric tester. Welcome to another Coffee with Carl. So this is actually the fabric abrasion tester that I was telling you about last week. It came in and it's a beast. This thing weighs a ton. Let me show you how it works though. So essentially you turn it on and you can choose the number of cycles that it will do, or you can actually set like a predetermined cycle or just let it run and it'll count until you tell it to stop. And basically all you do, these right here are what you'll put your abrasive on. And you can see that contacts that pad right there. And whatever you want to abrade goes on top of this guy. And so these are removable. They also have different weights that you could put on top of them. So if you want a little bit more downforce on all of them, you could put that on there. They have bigger ones, they have smaller ones, and you can kind of just, you could tailor the number or the amount of abrasion that you want to inflict on the surface. So that's really cool because let's say you want to try, 80 grit, 40 grit, 120 and 320 grit or something like that, you can do it. So more or less you set that up, you make sure the whole thing is level and go through that whole rigmarole, and then boom, there you go. It starts abrading away. And like I said, it actually, there's no reason to have this thing moving while I'm talking. It moves in a almost figure eight like pattern. And so this here is the big purchase. Of course, I had to find something to put it on top of. If you could excuse my voice, I'm getting a little sick. So I bought a toolbox. And I didn't realize that getting that toolbox up here was gonna be such a pain in the neck. So yeah, getting that thing up here was a pain in the neck. And when I chose that toolbox, I was like, when I was a mechanic, Snap-on was the thing, right? So I had a Snap-on box, still have it to my garage. The one that I had at home was a Craftsman, and both of those worked okay. I realized that the Craftsman was good for weekend warrior kind of stuff, whereas if I was working out of it every single day, I preferred the Snap-on. Of course, Snap-on stuff is like ridiculously expensive. I knew guys who spent $20,000, $30,000 on the toolbox itself, not even with tools in it. And anybody who works, spinning wrenches for a living will tell you that Snap-on guy pretty much owns you. That's another downside to being a mechanic that not many people talk about, is that you have to invest at least like 10 grand in tools before you can even get started. So I started looking around for other toolboxes, and I found that the US General series from Harbor Freight actually isn't half bad. Now, they do have their Icon series, which is better than that, but the US General series, people were talking about it a lot and saying how much they loved it. So they only had the green. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You like the green?
Yeah.
Okay. You gonna ride in the back?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we used to be able to ride in the back of pickup trucks.
Oh.
How are we gonna get it off?
Yeah.
That's a good question. My son and I hit the road. We went and picked it up, brought it back here, and I didn't realize how heavy it was, and then I had to get it upstairs. But either way, it's sitting all set up with all my camera gear and stuff for this abrasion machine in it. So now I have a nice workstation. I don't know about you, but helps me a lot to have everything organized where I'm working in order to work effectively. So in this episode of Coffee with Carl, we actually have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. And where do I begin? Let's start with the kind of run-of-the-mill stuff. Whites, they came out with a new boot this week. It's called the Springdale, and it goes for $380. Now, this is a Goodyear welted boot. It is not a stitch-down boot or hand-sewn boot or anything like that. Of course, at $380, you can understand that. And it actually looks really cool. I like the sprung toe last that they built it around. I've always thought that was a cool look. And overall, I think it's a winner. Now, as long as Whites can keep their quality control in check, like they did with the Perry, they had to kind of correct course on that. I think this could be a really great boot. Schott NYC has come out with a Shinky horsehide jacket, which I couldn't believe. I mean, this is a very Japanese style, but then again, they named it the classic Japanese horsehide racer / motorcycle jacket. And so this is made of Shinky horsehide, and actually, I gotta tell you, it reminds me a lot of some of the Field Leathers designs. Now, it's $1,500, and for that amount, I think that, honest to God, you could do better. I think that if you were to go to Greg Field and get something very similar in a similar leather built to your measurements, you'd actually be better off. But for some people, they don't trust the idea of maybe sending off their measurements. They don't trust themselves to measure properly, or maybe they just want something made in the USA. This will do it. So this is pretty interesting. I think it's kind of cool to see Schott trying something new. They've relied on that rider jacket for so long, the cross zip style, and everybody comes to know Schott for that jacket. And I think it's pretty neat that they kind of branched out. Now, they've actually branched out before, but a lot of people don't know that. They also offer like wool coats, like pea coats and other kind of stuff. And actually, from what I've heard, they're pretty good. But I still think that for $1,500, you could do better. Like I mentioned, go over and see Greg Field. He's still offering amazing stuff at an incredible value. Once upon a time, his stuff was, you could get a jacket just like that for under $1,000. And he was the only guy doing it. Since then, he's expanded. He has a storefront. He has other people working with him to do like the books and take care of the website and stuff like that. So his costs have increased, and he's had to increase his prices to reflect that. However, I'll bet you can get something very similar to this for a better price. Now, speaking of New York leather jackets, Cockpit USA has reached out and offered to give my viewers an early crack at their annual sale. So this is actually pretty cool. And if you've been saving up for a leather jacket or maybe just thinking about it, you, because you're watching this channel, can get in a day early. How awesome is that? Now, the sale is called their Take Flight sale, and it's running from November 17th through the 19th. However, you could get on the 16th and use these codes to get a special discount, which is really, really cool. Now, a little bit more about Cockpit USA if you're not familiar. They are made in the USA in the New York tri-state area. They've been around since 1975. They are the current official supplier of the USAF A2 Pilot's leather jacket. So this is like legit, right? And this sale only happens once a year. And I'll put the discount codes on the screen here so you can see exactly what you can get off. But if you're gonna spend a lot of money, like $1,500 or more, you can get $350 off. That's no small amount of money. So if you've been waiting to buy something or you've just been searching for the right jacket, and I gotta thank Cockpit USA because, I've never worked with them. And I've recommended their stuff or maybe pointed you to them for flight jackets before, but I've never done a video on them specifically. So it was really kind of a surprise that they reached out and said, hey, do you think your audience would want a day early access to this sale? And I said, yeah, people are always looking to save money. So if you want a great flight jacket made in the USA, this is a great chance. So thanks to Cockpit USA. That's really, really cool of them to do. And if you don't want something like this, maybe somebody would be interested. So either way, that's there for you to use if you choose to or not. But hey, I'd rather save some coin if I can. Now, finally today, a few weeks ago, I mentioned that Grant had left Nick's Boots. And he was a big part of that company. As a matter of fact, to me, he was like the face of the company. He was on the YouTube channel. He was the guy that I called when I first ordered my first ever Builder Pros. We spoke on the phone and did the fit sheet thing. And that was before I got to know him. Really, really cool guy. And so we had all heard that he had left Nick's and it was under good terms. But everybody was wondering, like, where did he go? What did he do? Is he working with a competitor? Is he doing, nobody really could figure it out. And then they finally, I actually got in touch with Grant and he told me what he's been up to. And it's pretty interesting. So Grant started his own brand called Homestead Brand. And what they're doing is making awesome leather products. So, when it comes to leather goods, there are a lot of different players out there. However, when it comes to designs, I find that's where most people are lacking. But it looks like this is a place that they've really focused. Now, I'm not exactly sure all of the details behind it. I know that they are using Wickett and Craig Latigo, which is a great leather, and they have some awesome stuff. And as a matter of fact, I asked him to send me a box of like loaner stuff that I could show you, and I'll send it back, obviously. But that way in person you could see what he's up to, and I think that just having stuff in person right in front of you really goes a long way. So that should be coming in, and keep an eye out because I have a gift guide coming up at the end of this week where I get a lot more into exactly what all these pieces are. But that's what Grant's up to, and I think that's really, really cool because he's, he was such an icon in that community. And like I said, all of those great Knicks videos you remember seeing him in, and to see him kind of, do something that's parallel but not in competition with what he used to do before is a classy move. And, he's a good dude, and I think that's really, really cool. So I'm excited to see what they're coming out with. What I've seen of the photos and stuff like that, it looks really promising. And I think it's a perfect time too, because, with gift season coming up, this might be ideal. Now, as far as me, you guys have been so cool enjoying this Coffee with Carl series, and I like making it too. And it's just really encouraging to know that you were watching on the other side and getting something out of this as well. Matter of fact, somebody said something that really struck home with me, and if I can remember to find the comment, I'll put it up there. And they had said that this reminds me of old school YouTube, and I was like, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. YouTube came out in what, 2006? Right after that Janet Jackson thing, that wardrobe malfunction. Yeah, sure. Um, and I think that was like right around when YouTube really started to take off. I joined in 2015. I think my earliest video is from 2016, so 10 years later. And I know exactly what he means. It's like back in those days, it was so, you didn't have the Mr. Beasts of the world out there who are professional content makers and figuring out the algorithm and exactly how many times they have to like switch views and channels and all kinds of stuff to like keep the viewer engaged. And it was just more or less people like this sitting down talking to some potato camera with crappy lighting and trying to give the knowledge that they had to the people who were watching. And I remember some of the people that I used to watch, like Nut Fancy. Oddly enough, his videos are the exact same as they were like 12 or however many years ago. I used to like watching his knife reviews and stuff, and he still does it with like the blue tablecloth. And those were the days when YouTube videos were limited to 10 minutes, if you remember that. And I'm trying to think of some of the other content creators I used to watch back then. Hickok 45. There was just a bunch of them that were really good, and it was just like it felt more organic. And I really, really love that somebody sees that kind of aspect in what I'm doing here. So much of the other stuff that I do that you see that comes out on the weekends is much more an attempt to make something high production. So I have a lot of expensive camera gear, shooting things, the B-roll, making sure the lighting is right, just because I see it as a craft, and anything that I do, I try to improve my skills at it, to sort of do credit to the craft itself. So I try to learn about lighting and learn about cameras and editing and all that stuff. And I've certainly found my style and what works for me, but it takes a long time to do. So being able to sit down like this and just rip off a quick video really has been freeing. And it's been obviously, appreciated by people who get to watch. Now, the viewership isn't as high as it is on, here's 3 boots that you've never heard of. But that's okay, because the way I see it, I'm making this content for the people who are like my real core audience. The people who I recognize your names in the comment section, the people who will give me thoughtful feedback and criticism and stuff that helps actually grow the channel. And what I'm doing. It's nice, and you can really tell when somebody makes a comment that's intended to help rather than to like knock you down. And I don't know if you're familiar, but in the YouTube dashboard, you can go to comments, and then you can go to hidden comments. And so I have certain words that are flagged, like mostly slurs, some really harsh language, my own address, things like that are in my blocked words. So sometimes when you have to open up that tab and see what kind of nastiness is hiding in there, it's all there for you to see. And I don't like doing it, but I still do. And I know a lot of people, they won't. They'll just like leave it because it auto deletes after like 30 days or something. So, you get this like cesspool of people, and I try to do my best not to pay attention to the people who are just either looking for attention or out there looking to hurt. That's not what I want to do. And I know that it's not what you want to do, especially you, my dear viewer, watching this long into the video. If you're watching, you're the person that I'm talking to in all of my videos. Even ones that may get, hundreds of thousands or a million of views or whatever. You are the person I'm actually talking to. And I feel like so many of us have a hard time finding some sort of connection, especially men, with one another, that this is sometimes the way that we can do it. And, if it's our version of a quasi friendship, then so be it. But either way, some really exciting stuff this episode. I was happy to bring it to you. I don't even know why I sat here instead of over on the couch. Oh yeah, because the machine was here. So now I got to figure out how that thing kind of works and get the abrasives and all that stuff. But I think that's another kind of evolution in the channel, actually bringing you some scientific, real proof, not just here it is and here's what I think about it. I mean, it'll of course be some opinion, but it'll be backed up by fact, and all in an effort to help you make the best purchase that you possibly can. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Hopefully this cold goes away. It sucks, but 'tis the season, right? I'll catch you later. Thank you so much for watching.